The air in the underground transport hub tasted like burnt ozone and stale despair. Kalen Thorne pressed his back against the cold ferrocrete wall, the ghostly ache in his replaced left shoulder blade, a parting gift from Silas, throbbing in time with the distant thrum of maglev trains. 10 years vanished in a heartbeat the moment the encrypted alert pulsed onto his ocular implant. Viridian reached Dela. Tonight, he wears your face. Revenge wasn't a dish served cold. It was a supernova, bottled and ready to detonate in Silas Morrow's perfect, treacherous smile. Kalen hadn't always been a ghost haunting Ethelgard Industries' gleaming spires. Once, he and Silas were brothers forged in the grimy crucible of the Ironward District, dreaming of escaping the perpetual twilight under the colossal smog-choked dome of Cygnus Prime. They'd built Ethelgard from salvaged tech and sheer audacity. Kalen's engineering brilliance fused with Silas's silver-tongued charm. They were the Golden Boys, turning a two-room workshop into a corporation rivaling the ancient dynasties of the Helios sector. Success tasted like vintage synth ambrosia, sharp and intoxicating. Then came the Vorlagian contract, a deal to supply terraforming cores that promised to catapult Ethelgard into the stratosphere. Kalen worked himself raw, perfecting the core stabilizer, the linchpin technology. The night before the contract signing, Silas, eyes gleaming with an unfamiliar, feverish light, handed him a celebratory drink. "To us, brother. To the stars." The drink tasted faintly metallic, like regret. Waking up strapped to a medbed in the Obsidian Spire Penitentiary, accused of selling Ethelgard secrets to the rival Kronos Syndicate and attempting to sabotage the Vorlagian core, an act that supposedly killed 3 engineers, was a sucker punch to the soul. Silas's tearful testimony, holographically broadcast at the trial, painted Kalen as a jealous, unstable genius consumed by greed. "I tried to stop him," he had choked out, the image flickering. "He wasn't the man I knew anymore." The evidence, fabricated with chilling precision, was overwhelming. Kalen was sentenced to 20 years in the Spire, a brutal orbital facility where hope went to die. The betrayal was absolute, a surgical strike to the heart. In the crushing silence of his cell, listening to the distant screams echoing through the prison's metal bones, Kalen's grief calcified into a diamond-hard resolve. Silas Morrow would pay. Not with a quick death, but with everything he had stolen, everything he cherished. The Spire didn't break Kalen. It remade him. He traded engineering schematics for protection, fixed malfunctioning life support systems for favors, and learned the brutal calculus of survival from hardened criminals like Vex, a wiry data pirate with a network of informants and a deep hatred for corporate overlords. Kalen studied Silas's new empire through smuggled data slates. Ethelgard, under Silas's sole command, had soared. The Vorlagian contract was a triumph. Silas was hailed as a visionary, a philanthropist, a self-made titan. He lived in the Sky Nimbus penthouse, married the renowned biosculptor Lyra Vanya, and cultivated an image of flawless, untouchable success. He even subtly altered his appearance over the years, smoothing away the traces of Ironward, becoming a polished icon. An icon that bore an uncanny resemblance to Kalen before the fall. The ultimate insult, stealing his life, his face, his legacy. Kalen's chance came unexpectedly. A prison riot, triggered by a Kronos Syndicate hit meant for another inmate, created chaos. Amidst the smoke and plasma fire, Vex pulled Kalen aside. "Got a lifeline, Thorny. Old escape pod, Sector 7 Gamma. Needs a jump start only you can give. Payment, get me out too, and you owe me one. Big one." They blasted free moments before the spire's security grid locked down, leaving the orbital graveyard behind, adrift in the silent black. Vex got them to the lawless free port of Kessel on a rust-bucket freighter. There, Kalen vanished, becoming a phantom in the underbelly of the galaxy. He took dangerous jobs, infiltrating data vaults, bypassing impossible security for anonymous clients, honing his skills, building resources, and meticulously mapping the cracks in Silas's glittering fortress. He learned about Lyra's renowned exclusive gala at the Viridian Reach Orbital Resort, celebrating the anniversary of the Vorlogian success, his success. He learned Silas employed a cutting-edge biomimetic disguise system for security, a system Kalen knew intimately because he'd sketched its early concepts. And he learned Silas had a tell, a tiny, almost imperceptible tick near his left eye when he lied, something only someone who'd known him since childhood would recognize. The gala was a symphony of excess. Holographic constellations drifted beneath the transparent dome of Viridian Reach. The elite of the Helios sector floated by in bioluminescent silks and tailored grav suits, sipping liquid starlight from crystal flutes. Kalen moved among them, unseen. He wasn't Kalen Thorne tonight. He was a minor functionary from the obscure Celadon Trade Consortium, his features subtly altered by expertly applied synth flesh and posture modifiers. His ocular implant scanned the crowd, filtering faces. His heart, a cold lump of iron in his chest, skipped a beat when he saw him. Silas Morrow. Taller, perhaps, more polished, radiating charismatic warmth as he charmed a cluster of admirers. He wore a face sculpted to near perfection, but it was undeniably the template of Kalen's own younger self. The sight was a physical blow, a wave of nausea with white-hot fury. He watched the familiar laugh, the easy gesture, the way Silas's hand rested possessively on Lyra Vanya's arm. Lyra, stunning and poised, her smile not quite reaching her guarded eyes. Kalen felt a pang of unexpected sympathy for her, another life ensnared in Silas's web. His plan was intricate, a multi-layered assault. Phase 1, discredit. Using a custom-built emitter disguised as a comlink, Kalen flooded the resort's secure network with fragmented, corrupted data packets. To the Aethelguard security AI, it looked like a sophisticated, low-level intrusion attempt originating from a rival corp's systems. It triggered subtle, localized security scrambles, door sensors glitching, environmental controls fluctuating momentarily, just enough to sow unease and divert attention. Phase 2, discovery. During a brief commotion caused by a hollow display, courtesy of Kalen's emitter, he slipped into Silas's private viewing suite adjacent to the main ballroom. Inside, amidst priceless artifacts, was Silas's personal data console. Kalen bypassed the biometric lock using a resonance key derived from Silas's publicly available voice patterns, a trick Vex had procured. He implanted a single, deeply buried file, a heavily encrypted, fragmented copy of the original Vorlogian core stabilizer schematics, subtly tagged with Kalen's old personal encryption signature, a signature Aethelguard systems would flag as belonging to the traitor. It was a seed, designed to be found later during a routine deep scan, whispering of secrets buried within Silas's own vault. Phase 3, the mirror. This was the riskiest. Kalen needed Silas alone, unsettled. He triggered a priority alert on Silas's secure channel, a fabricated message implying a critical, personal security breach back at the Sky Nimbus penthouse. Silas, ever the controlled executive, excused himself smoothly, but Kalen saw the flicker of alarm in his eyes, the slight tightening of his jaw. He followed, a shadow down a less traveled service corridor bathed in soft ambient light. As Silas reached for a comm panel, Kalen stepped out from behind an ornamental energy sculpture. He deactivated his synth flesh disguise just enough. Not fully Kalen torn, but a distorted echo, a ghost from the past superimposed over the minor functionary's faith. The effect was jarring, uncanny. Silas froze. His polished mask slipped, revealing raw shock, then a dawning horror. His hand flew to the discreet panic button at his wrist. "Who are you? What is this?" His voice, usually so smooth, held a tremor. "Don't you recognize the blueprint, Silas? The one you buried me for? The one you're still using?" He gestured vaguely towards the ballroom. "Enjoying the view from the top? It's built on ferrocrete, brother. My ferrocrete." Silas's face paled. The tick near his left eye fluttered wildly. "Thorn! Impossible! You died in the Spire riot!" But the doubt was there, corrosive and instant. He saw the knowledge in Kalen's eyes, the knowledge only the real Kalen Thorn could possess. "Reports of my death," Kalen murmured, taking a step closer, "were greatly exaggerated, unlike your loyalty." He saw the calculation begin in Silas's eyes, the shift from shock to desperate strategy. "Wondering how I got in, how I accessed your console, how I know about the biomimetic signature flaw in your security profile?" Each question was a needle, pricking Silas's carefully constructed invincibility. "Your empire has cracks, hairline fractures, and I know exactly where to tap." Before Silas could react further, shouting echoed down the corridor. Security, responding to the earlier scrambles and Silas's aborted panic signal. Kalen melted back into the shadows, reactivating his full disguise as the guards rounded the corner, finding only a shaken Silas Morrow trying to regain his composure, dismissing their concerns with a wave of his hand, though his knuckles were white. The gala continued, but the atmosphere for Silas had shifted. Paranoia, a seed Kalen had planted years ago that had finally found fertile ground, began to bloom. Silas became jumpy, scrutinizing guests, snapping at aides. He cut the evening short, citing a sudden emergency. Back at the impenetrable Sky Nimbus penthouse, high above Cygnus Prime's smog layer, Silas was a caged animal. He ordered an immediate, deep-level security sweep. Hours later, his chief tech delivered the bad news. An anomalous file discovered deep within his personal console. The Vorlogian schematics, tagged with Kalen Torn's signature. Silas felt the world tilt. It was impossible. He'd purged everything. Had Torn really survived? Had he been inside his sanctum? The implications were terrifying. He couldn't report it. It would raise too many questions about the original trial, about the source of the schematics. He had to handle this himself. He activated his most trusted, most ruthless enforcer, a cybernetically enhanced hunter known only as Drakkar. "Find him," Silas hissed. The image of that distorted face burned into his mind. "Find Kalen Torn and erase him permanently. No traces." Meanwhile, Kalen watched the fallout from a dingy safe house in the Iron Ward district. News feeds reported Silas's sudden illness, forcing an early departure from the gala. Corporate chatter hummed with rumors of a security scare at Viridian Reach, blamed on Chrono Syndicate agitators. Kalen knew the real damage was internal. Silas was rattled. The seed of doubt was sprouting. Now it was time to nurture it, to make it choke him. He reached out to Vex, activating the big one he owed. "I need access to the Echo Network," Kalen stated. The Echo Network was a legendary, near-mythical system of hidden communication relays used by dissidents and spies, believed to be impenetrable. Vex whistled. "Thorny, playing with fire. That's beyond a big one. That's suicidal." But the promise of bringing down a titan like Silas Morrow was too enticing. Vex provided coordinates and a complex access cipher. Using the Echo Network, Kalen began a subtle, devastating campaign. He didn't attack Aethelgard directly. Instead, he whispered. He leaked carefully crafted, seemingly innocuous fragments of old Aethelgard internal communications Silas had believed deleted, to mid-level analysts at rival corporations and investigative journalists known for tenacity. The fragments hinted at discrepancies in the timeline of the Vorlagian core development, vague references to stability concerns prior to the alleged sabotage, and curious budget reallocations around the time of Kalen's trial. Nothing definitive, nothing actionable, but like drops of acid, they began to eat away at the official narrative. Whispers started in financial circles. Aethelgard's stock, usually rock solid, dipped fractionally. Simultaneously, Kalen targeted Silas personally. He sent anonymous, untraceable messages to Lyra Vanya. Not accusations, but questions. Coordinates of hidden accounts Silas used for personal slush funds, established long ago with Kalen's unwitting help. Dates and locations of discreet meetings Silas had with known corporate raiders, meetings that looked suspiciously like market manipulation. Ask him about the Vespera account, or the meeting on Lunaris Station, Cycle 78. Kalen saw Lyra's public appearances become less frequent, her smiles more strained. The cracks were spreading into Silas's personal life. Drakkar was a persistent shadow. Kalen narrowly avoided a snare at a data hub in the Neon Bazaar, leaving behind a triggered EMP grenade that fried the hunter's tracking gear. Another time, in the labyrinthine aqueduct district, Kalen used the rusted infrastructure and his intimate knowledge of the old city layout to lose his pursuer in a maze of steam vents. The chase was relentless, forcing Kalen to stay constantly moving, his resources dwindling. Drakkar was closing in, a remorseless machine fueled by Silas's fear. Kalen knew he needed a decisive blow. He needed proof. Ironclad proof of Silas's betrayal. He remembered one thing. Silas was meticulous, but vain. He kept trophies. Kalen gambled that Silas might have kept a recording of his own triumphant moment, perhaps the moment he framed Kalen. Something too precious, too validating to destroy completely. But where? Not the Sky Nimbus. It was too secure, too monitored. Not the Aethelgard HQ. Then he remembered. The Venture, Silas's private, heavily armored star yacht, currently docked at the exclusive Helios Prime orbital. A floating fortress, but one that relied on external systems when docked. And Silas, consumed by the hunt for Kalen and the growing whispers, wouldn't be using it. Breaking into the Venture required everything Kalen had learned and stolen. He used a zero-day exploit Vex had sold him to bypass the dock security grid, creating a blind spot. He scaled the docking gantry like a spider, bypassing pressure sensors with localized field dampeners. The yacht's internal security was formidable, but Kalen had studied Silas's patterns, his arrogance. He knew Silas would have a personal, isolated archive, not networked, but accessible only from the master suite. It took hours of nerve-wracking work, disabling lasers, spoofing biosignatures using a sample he'd covertly obtained years before, a discarded synth skin patch Silas used for minor corrections, and finally cracking a physical vault behind a holographic masterpiece in the suite. Inside, amidst jewels and rare artifacts, was a simple, unmarked crystal data chip. Kalen slotted it into a shielded reader. His blood ran cold. It was a holographic log. Silas, younger but unmistakable, sat in what was once their shared office at the old Aethelgard workshop in Ironwood. He spoke directly to the recorder, his face a mask of cold calculation, not the charming facade. Kalin is too trusting, too focused on the how. He doesn't see the why. Vorlog wants results, not ethics. Kronos offered triple what the core is worth now, plus political leverage. Kalin would never agree. He's a liability. The stabilizer flaw. It's perfect. A timed cascade failure after the signing. Kronos gets the blame, we get the payout and the contract secured. And Kalin, he takes the fall. His access logs are already modified. The drink will make him suggestible, easy to frame for the initial sabotage attempt. Clean, efficient, regrettable but necessary. The future of Aethelgard demands it. My future demands it. The recording ended. 10 years of suffering condensed into 2 minutes of icy betrayal. Kalin felt no triumph, only a vast, hollow emptiness. This was the man he'd called brother. He copied the data, leaving the original chip untouched. This was his detonator. He didn't run. He walked out of the venture the same way he came, a ghost slipping back into the night. He went to the only place left, the derelict Aethelgard workshop in Ironwood, now a haven for squatters and forgotten dreams. He sent one message via the Echo network to every major news outlet, financial regulator, rival corporation, and government oversight body in the Helios sector. Attached was the holographic recording of Silas Morrow confessing to fraud, sabotage, and the framing of Kalin Thorne. He included the original schematics, the financial trails to Kronos, and the doctored evidence from the trial. He sent a copy directly to Liravanya. He sent a final, simple text burst to Silas's private comm. "Check the news, brother. The stabilizer just failed." The explosion wasn't physical, but it was cataclysmic. The recording went supernova across the galactic networks. Aethelgard industry stock plummeted into oblivion within minutes. Regulators descended. Rivals pounced. Kronos Syndicate, exposed, unleashed its lawyers and enforcers toward Silas in a wave of furious retaliation. Liravanya filed for immediate dissolution of partnership, her public statement brief and scathing. Silas Morrow, watching his empire crumble from the Sky Nimbus penthouse, surrounded by security he no longer trusted, became a figure of universal revulsion and ridicule. The golden boy was revealed as gilded rot. Kalin watched the feeds from a cracked view screen in the old workshop. He saw Silas's frantic, failed attempts to deny, to explain. He saw the arrest warrants issued. He saw the moment Silas, cornered by corporate enforcers and regulators at the Aethelgard Tower, tried to flee, only to be apprehended in a scene broadcast live, his perfect hair disheveled, his expensive suit torn, his face a mask of utter panicked ruin. The tick near his eye was a constant, frantic flutter. Justice, cold and impersonal, closed its fist. Drakkar found him in the workshop. The hunter stepped out of the shadows, plasma pistol raised. He didn't speak. His orders were clear. Erase Kalin Thorne. Kalin didn't flinch. He just looked at Drakkar, his eyes holding 10 years of pain and the hollow echo of vengeance achieved. "He can't pay you anymore," Kalin said quietly. "And killing me won't unbreak his world. It's already dust." He gestured to the screen showing Silas in custody. Drakkar hesitated, his cybernetic eye whirring as he processed the feeds, the undeniable truth of Silas's downfall. The pistol lowered fractionally. With a grunt that might have been disgust or reluctant respect, Drakkar turned and vanished back into the gloom of Ironward. Some fires, he seemed to decide, weren't worth dying for. Kalin was left alone in the silence of the derelict workshop where a dream had once been born and then murdered. The screens showed Silas being led away, his head bowed, the architect of his own destruction. The rage that had fueled Kalen for a decade had burnt itself out, leaving only cold ash and an unimaginable fatigue. He had wanted Silas to feel the crushing weight of loss, the betrayal, the isolation. He had succeeded. The victory tasted like the burnt ozone of the underground hub where his revenge began. It tasted like nothing at all. He picked up a discarded piece of circuitry from the grimy floor, a relic of their first clumsy project together. He turned it over in his hands, the ghost of a shared laugh echoing in the emptiness. The path back was gone, buried under the rubble of Silas's empire and his own consumed years. He walked out into the perpetual twilight of Ironward, not towards freedom, but into the vast, uncertain silence that comes after the storm. The price of revenge, he realized, as the heavy dome light filtered through the smog, was everything you once were, leaving only the hollow shape of what you'd become. The future was an unwritten circuit, and for the first time in 10 years, Kalen Thorne had no blueprint.